Hello everyone, welcome back to Inside Ambition. I'm one of your hosts, Gabrielle, and thank you for joining me on this week's episode of Foresight 2020, a segment where we discuss all things presidential election, and friends, it is the season finale. Or season finale and a half. There's a little bit more drama in the election world left. What's new? But guys, something feels different. Right? Something's in the air. The vibe has changed. Oh, maybe it's because we have a new president, or might not, but most likely so. Are you confused? Because in this political climate and emotional state of being, I always am. Join the club. Let's get into it. Former Vice President Joe Biden is the projected winner of the 2020 presidential election, making him pretty much the 46th president of the United States. That pretty much makes Kamala Harris the big first. First woman vice president, first black vice president, first South Asian vice president. At its core, it's groundbreaking, an inspiration to a diverse crowd that is America, that they too can hold high positions of power. And their win was accredited to the swinging of a few states. Georgia and Nevada were under a political microscope for a few days. Texas, Florida, Ohio, and North Carolina swung red, and PA, Georgia, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin all went blue. Some of those states in slim margins. But it's 270 to win. Biden-Harris leads with 290 electoral college votes against Trump-Pence's 217. And this lead is not expected to deviate as he charges on with a national lead, specifically in the key swing states, which isn't ceasing growth as more votes are being counted. And I mentioned in my last episode that the Trump administration is seeking cold-blooded vengeance. Suing multiple states, demanding recounts. The likeliness of the presidential race flipping is highly unlikely. The nonpartisan organization Fair Vote advocates for electoral reform and overall fair elections. They conducted a study that looked at statewide recounts over the course of 20 years, with the average shift in votes being 430 votes, a mere 0.02 points. In that same study, it was revealed that the largest shift in votes was 2,600, a mere 0.11 points. So, barring any colossal, monumental voter fraud that the Trump administration is declaring, and in the event that all of this substantial, concrete, and totally not baseless evidence grows legs and admits at a national press conference that it was the culprit, it was indeed the imposter, Biden will be the winner of the 2020 presidential election. And some Americans, and I can't in my good faith say all or even the majority, since there's a large block of individuals who believe that democracy has suddenly stopped working, have already accepted and some even celebrated this win. Many world leaders have already extended their loud congratulations, including the likes of Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and French President Emmanuel Macron. And the Biden campaign has voiced its desire to heal foreign relations, and it won't be easy considering the relational climate the Biden administration will be inheriting. Pew Research Center is a nonpartisan American think tank. They provide information on public opinion, social issues, and demographic trends. And I know, it is hard to trust nonpartisan sources claiming they're nonpartisan despite them showing an inherent bias. But the Pew Research Center often provides Q&A on how they come to the conclusions they did and what steps they took to make sure that the data was fair. The think tank has done numerous studies regarding global opinion on the big and tough US of A, but recent ones show that international public opinion of the US has taken a nosedive. In key EU nations, attitudes towards the US moved downward during the George W. Bush era, then surged in the Obama era, but took a full gravity fall during the election of Donald Trump. And while there are pockets of support for the president in many nations, nations who mostly lean ideologically right, public opinion has changed. And in principal foreign policy issues, the Trump administration experiences overwhelming disapproval. For example, the withdrawal from the Paris Agreement, an initiative for climate change within the United Nations Framework Convention, has reflected on the administration unfavorably. A lot of Trump's foreign policy centers around the mantra, America First, which has led other countries to the path of condemnation against the US. Some nations even see him as a resistance to international cooperation. It's unfair to say all, though, as among the countries surveyed, positive views of the US were most common in the Philippines, Israel, South Korea, Poland, and Ukraine. So anyways, what a tangent. God, what was I even saying? The spirit of international relations academia just possessed my moral being. Oh yeah, Biden wants to mend what seems a little broken. And however Biden plans on doing it, he has the next 4 years to do so. With a Biden win, Trump has also joined the one-term president club, standing alongside chair members Herbert Hoover, George H.W. Bush, and John Quincy Adams. Oh, and William Taft. But Trump is not letting up on the voter fraud claim. And while I may come off as a harsh reporter at times, I am in full support of a fair election. If recounting the votes is what it takes to prove the integrity of this election, I have absolutely no opposition. And there's no possible way to rule out voter fraud, again, without fair investigation. It's reasonable. The issue here lies in the effect of the Trump administration's allegations and lawsuits. Republicans have made claims of election irregularities in 6 states where Biden leads, alleging in both public statements and lawsuits that election officials did not follow the proper procedures. And subjectively, the strategy for these lawsuits are inconsistent. In Pennsylvania, where me, you, and Mario reside, the Trump administration is suing to get any ballots received after Election Day to be invalid. Meanwhile, in Arizona, they are pushing for the count to continue because they're behind. And you could say that they just want to eliminate voter fraud in small waves. For example, the Trump administration filed suit against the Chatham County Board of Elections, where it has said that a poll watcher witnessed 53 late absentee ballots illegally added to a stack of on-time absentee ballots. After over an hour of presenting evidence and witness testimony, the key witness, the poll watcher, said he didn't actually know when the ballots came in. The judge ultimately threw out the case. And many of the suits are alike. Small differences in numbers and can't be accredited to possibly shifting an election. So whether the intention is to change the outcome to favor a second Trump term or to just fix voter fraud, both intentions seem counterproductive as it continues to unnecessarily stir discord and aid mistrust in the electoral process. And friends, I want to reiterate that I am in full support of a fair election. But not if the claims are baseless. And with Trump refusing to concede with a Biden win, even before Election Day, it's alarming to democracy. And there's talk of the administration refusing to cooperate in alignment with the transition team. It's scary, and a fear of non-acceptance of this election is inherently nonpartisan. If the Democratic Party was doing this, I would be just as alarmed. So again, count the votes, recount the votes, count it fairly, and you will face no opposition on my end. But intentionally stirring the pot with no evidence of widespread fraud is undermining democracy. And democracy can admittedly be flawed. No argument there. I'm the first one to say it. But this is undercutting the future integrity of elections, those that could favor Republicans. Really, eroding the ethics of this election can undermine the future of voting in general. So I urge you to take a step back and take every piece of evidence with a grain of salt. Remember that your vote still matters. In a time like this, it can feel like it doesn't, but it absolutely does. And friends, I've talked long enough today. I look forward to sharing these 10 or so minutes with you every week to discuss the new Biden administration and beyond. While the segment itself might need renaming, it's not over. So until next week, thank you for watching this week's episode of Foresight 2020. Remember to be kind in all that you do and to speak with conviction in all that you believe in. Be well.